Welcome to Making the Case. I'm Yodit Tewolde. Jury selection for a trial that the nation is watching continued in a small Georgia town today. The trial for the three men charged with murdering Ahmaud Arbery has consumed the town of Brunswick. And today we saw more examples of just how small this community really is. This week, 600 people were summoned to appear for jury selection. Today, one prospective juror was excused after giving a thumbs up to a member of the Arbery family. Others rattled off long lists of people they knew who were involved in the case. Dre Clark is outside the Glenn County Courthouse, where the tedious process of selecting a jury is expected to last several weeks.
Some potential jurors were released today for various reasons, while others were told to stand by. The judge is trying to reach the number 64. 64 qualified potential jurors. Once they reach that number, then they will thin the number down to 16. 12 jurors, 4 alternates, and then the trial can begin. Meanwhile, the jury selection process is taking much longer than anticipated, and that's making some people a little nervous.
Whose side are you on? Whose side are you on?
Outside the Glenn County Courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia.
We'll fight all day, we'll fight all night until we get it right.
A song of commitment dedicated to Ahmaud Arbery. Anything less than justice in Arbery's case is unacceptable. Justice means convictions.
We want justice! We want it now!
Members of the Transformative Justice Coalition hopped on buses from all across the country. Black men and women who wanted to be here, letting the Arbery family know they're not alone. Gary Cook is a family friend.
If you can't get out and support your own people, and somebody else got to come do it, how do you know that this thing gonna go right? They might say that the public don't even care about this kid.
Portia Miller made the 4-hour drive here from Atlanta.
When it comes to the people of color, it's always the victim that's on trial and not the people that done the crime. And so us as people of color, it's very important that we get a guilty verdict.
Travis and Gregory McMichael, along with William Bryan, are facing multiple charges, including murder. Ahmaud Arbery was jogging through his neighborhood when the McMichaels chased him down and shot him at point-blank range, claiming they believed Arbery was a burglary suspect and they shot him in self-defense. William Bryan followed the chase and recorded the shooting on his cell phone.
Ahmaud Arbery, he wasn't doing nothing but doing something he did on a regular basis, that was run his neighborhood.
Inside the courthouse, lawyers are trying to select 12 jurors and 4 alternates. Media attention surrounding the case makes it hard to find fair and impartial jurors. And it seems in this small town, everyone knows everyone.
Being that they haven't picked a jury yet, yes, it's very alarming at the moment.
1,000 people in this county received a summons to appear for jury duty. That's very unusual, but necessary in a case like this that has garnered so much media attention. Remember, the goal is to seat a fair and impartial jury. The judge has set aside 2 weeks for jury selection, and at the pace they're moving right now, they will need 2 full weeks. In Brunswick, Georgia, I'm Dre Clark for Making the Case.
It's important to note that because of all the attention on this trial and how small this community is, the judge warned the media to limit reporting any information that may identify prospective jurors to protect them and the integrity of this process. Joining me tonight for a breakdown of the latest developments in this case and day 3 of voir dire are 2 experts in California, Dr. Tracy Joseph, a clinical and forensic psychologist, and in Atlanta, Titus Nichols, a trial attorney and former prosecutor. Thank you both for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's just start with the introduction of Juror 161 and what his background says about this community. This person, who we can only say is a white man, had either personal or professional connections to Ahmaud himself, former DA Jackie Johnson, 2 of the defendants, members of law enforcement, and some of the other potential jurors. All right, so Titus, this is a tight-knit community. I'm sure Ahmaud wasn't running in the same circles as these defendants. But, you know, under normal circumstances in a big city, I would be striking this juror, right? You know too many people, whether I'm on the prosecution side, whether I'm on the defense side. But the chances of either side finding a juror in Brunswick that knows no one is unlikely.
Absolutely. And it's an unfortunate reality that both sides are going to have to adjust what they consider to be acceptable. Where in a typical trial, you'd strike anybody who says, yes, I know the former prosecutor, or I know of one of the individuals involved. But here you have to dig deep. Okay, well, what is the extent of your relationship with the former prosecutor, with the defendants, with Mr. Arbery? Did you go to school with them? Did you go to church with them? Are you just in Kiwanis Club with them? You have to find out specifically how well they know them, and then from there make a determination as to whether they're going to allow that personal connection to stop them from being a fair and honest juror.
All right, let's look at some of the questions asked today. The prosecution asked juror number 158, another white male, can you decide the case based on evidence? Number 158 said, I believe so. He went on to say, quote, there's a whole lot about this case that I don't know. He also said he believed he would be able to render a fair and impartial verdict. All right, Dr. Joseph, jury selection sort of forces people to challenge and to look at their own biases, right? I mean, when you're asked by lawyers or even a judge whether you can set aside certain feelings and just look at the evidence and be fair, you think that you're answering honestly as you can, but how do you honestly answer that question if you don't even know what your biases are?
True. I mean, there are some very overt biases that we all have. We know what's politically correct. We also have this idea of how we want people to see ourselves. But that can be misguided, because if you're not very aware of who you are and not aware of how your past experiences are tainting how you see the world, your answer could be very inaccurate. It may, in your mind, you think you are presenting your authentic self, but in reality, if you take a moment and really think objectively about some things, you might see something different. Unfortunately, we're not often put in those situations. One situation I can think of where you do that is in therapy, but outside of therapy, we aren't necessarily challenged. We have these biases, we have these beliefs about the world, about ourselves, that aren't typically challenged. Who's going to challenge those things? Circumstances can, but maybe family members can. But this presents a very unique situation where you're put on the spot as the juror to kind of present who you are, present your beliefs. And typically what people do is they put their best foot forward, which is great. But we could all be blindsided by that if you're putting your best foot forward and you're saying, of course I can be objective. Of course I'm going to take in all the evidence and be objective about those things and be fair about those things. But we don't really recognize when some of those biases creep into our consciousness. We are a collection of our experiences. And so sometimes we have feelings and emotions that kind of pop up subconsciously that come out. And situations like this, which are very emotional, and just like we're talking about right now, this is a small community. Many people, just like that juror, may know this young man, may know this family, and may know other people who are involved. And those are exactly the kinds of things that creep into our subconscious and kind of taint some of those things that we thought we were presenting so objectively. So this is going to be very difficult, and this is difficult for any trial, but particularly for this one, because it's so public and because this community is so small, there are more chances that some of those little hints from our past and our existence are going to creep into how we see the evidence that's being presented.
All right, let's talk about the exchange between the attorneys and juror number 152, another white male. In the first exchange, juror 152 echoed something we've heard from several of the prospective jurors. He said he has negative opinions about Travis McMichael because, quote, he shot Arbery and it wasn't warranted, but he said he doesn't have an opinion either way about Gregory McMichael or William Bryan. Titus, this isn't a severed trial, which means each individual defendant gets their own trial. They're all being tried together. So whether one person did more than the other, at the end of the day, one defendant's stain tends to rub off on the other two, don't you think?
Absolutely. Under the theory the prosecution has gone for, in Georgia, you have what's called party to the crime. So even if you aren't the person who pulled the trigger, but you're the person who drove the vehicle, or in this situation, you were the person who videotaped the entire incident, you are just as guilty if you're convicted. You can be convicted of murder, even though you weren't the one who had the weapon. And so by simply saying, oh, well, he doesn't have an opinion about the other two people, that doesn't mean that those two defendants are off the hook or can breathe a sigh of relief. That just means that particular witness doesn't have the same level of outrage against them as he does for the shooter.
All right, let's move on to what juror 152 said to the prosecution. He said, quote, the jury is in a tough spot once they're convened. He went on to say that there's only one verdict that's acceptable in today's climate, and if that verdict is not returned, Congresswomen will fly down to Georgia and threaten violence, and the president will weigh in. He did not specify what that verdict is. The prosecution also noted that he wrote on his questionnaire, quote, government can't be trusted. It's obvious to me, at least, what that verdict is. And I could agree to some extent with this particular juror in that a jury is under a lot of pressure, not just from the public, but from inside the courtroom. Now, Dr. Joseph, none of these prospective jurors want to be on this jury. That was evident with a question that the lead prosecutor asked. Nobody raised their hands about wanting to be on this jury. And I'm sure it's for various reasons, and one being cancel culture. Talk about the wear and tear that jurors have to endure serving on a jury.
Well, sure. I think part of that you spoke to yesterday when you were saying they're being asked these questions, and are they being asked in a open room and people are hearing their answers, seeing their responses. But I think the wear and tear of this in particular, they're being asked to come down on a side. And we even saw the shot before this, pick a side. And so that question is ringing in everyone's head. And so while it might seem, again, it might seem easy to be objective in this, you are being forced to pick a side. And I think, once again, in this small jury pool, you're picking a side. And once this circumstance is over, once this trial is over, these are folks who are going to have to go back to their communities. They're going to go back to seeing these people that they may know or may have interacted with in a circumstance, and they're going to carry that with them. They have come down on a side. And normally under circumstances, you see these people in the grocery store, your kids go to school together, you're not forced to pick a side then, but once you pick a side quite publicly, and being on this jury will be a public side after this is over, you're outed. You are in your community, you are carrying that with you. And part of what this case is about is being seen in your community and judged. This is what Mr. Arbery suffered from. You are who you are. He was just doing his everyday life. But somebody saw him, made a determination, a decision about him, and decided to end his life, which is unfortunate. But these are people who are going to come down on a side, but then they've got to go back to their lives. So those kinds of questions, those kinds of concerns are probably on their mind when they're answering questions.
All right, Titus, Dr. Joseph, stay with me, because after the break, we're going to be discussing how mental health came up and how the prosecution and defense might be processing what they've heard from these prospective jurors. We'll be right back. Tonight, we're digging into the details after day 3 of jury selection in the murder trial of Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Bryan. Still with me are clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. Tracy Joseph and former prosecutor Titus Nichols. All right, so Brunswick, Georgia, where all of this is happening, is nearly 70% white. And most of the prospective jurors we heard from today were white. But we did hear from several black residents. Here's an exchange between the defense and prospective juror number 164, a black woman, about Ahmaud Arbery. She said, quote, "I thought they railroaded him. It was almost like a lynching to me. They just wanted to hang him. When asked if she could set that aside, she said it would be hard. When asked if she will try, she said again, it would be hard." Titus, you know, as a prosecutor, former prosecutor, when we would get answers like, or even a defense attorney, when you would get a juror saying things like, "I think I can, I'll try, I don't know," you know, you'd use the example of, or at least I did, when you were on a plane, say going to Vegas, and the pilot says, "I think I can get you to Vegas." We'd have a problem with that. We'd be deboarding, right? We want to get off that plane. We want to nail them down to an answer, but why dig any deeper? This prospective juror said she doesn't think that she could set that aside. Why go any further?
Well, the issue that the defense has to be mindful of is, with Glenn County being 70% white and your minority jurors being 30%, they have to be mindful of what's known as a Batson challenge. Whereas if you use too many of your strikes to get rid of jurors, and the majority of those strikes are for minority or black jurors, the prosecution can make an objection to the judge and say that your strikes were racially based. So the defense has to ask a whole bunch of questions to find out, is this person truly biased? Because even if the defense raises the issue and saying, well, I think this juror cannot set aside their bias, the judge has the ability to do what's called rehabilitate the juror by simply asking, can you put aside your bias? Can you be a fair and impartial juror? Can you decide the case just on the evidence? And if the jurors, most of the time the jurors they figure out the judge is asking them a serious question, so they'll give a serious answer. If the juror says, yes, I can put all that aside and base my verdict just on the evidence, the judge is more inclined to let that juror stay on if that juror is selected for the jury.
All right, just yesterday, the prosecution filed a motion to keep the defense from introducing evidence that includes Ahmaud's mental health history. It came up again today in both group and individual questioning. At least 5 prospective jurors said psychiatrists can find mental illness in just about anyone. One of those prospective jurors was number 140, a black man. He went on to say, quote, "They can pinpoint within people and find anything negative or something good about somebody. I feel there is a little something wrong with anybody. They need some outside counseling." Dr. Joseph, I'm gonna give that one to you. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, that's true. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And there are certainly mental illnesses that speak to temporary circumstances. Put in an unusual situation, we're all likely to react with whatever we have, with our own history, with our own background. But there are things like adjustment disorder, which are very time sensitive and reactionary to the circumstances. That doesn't mean that this person can't rebound back to their normal level of functioning. So it's true. We all have a little something. Nobody's perfect. I end up telling this to people all the time when they hear I'm a psychologist. "Oh, you're analyzing me." Negative. I'm not. Everybody has something, and it depends on the circumstances. It's not fair to say if someone has gone to therapy or someone's had some mental health services that there's something wrong with them. Quite opposite, actually. The person who seeks assistance when they have some difficulties or are challenged by a circumstance, that person is making a wise decision. I would be more concerned about the person who doesn't seek help while they're going through a separation, while they're grieving someone, while they have lost something, while they've lost status in their life in some way. Without that kind of help, left to our own devices, sometimes we do the wrong thing. Sometimes we we make our situation even worse. That happens all the time. So to hold it against someone who has sought mental health counseling, I think is absolutely the wrong thing. That person should be celebrated for having sought help. So I encourage everybody to seek help. Mental health is our friend. It's everyone's friend.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about something one of the supporters outside of the courtroom told our BNC crew. A woman who drove 4 hours to be there said, quote, "When it comes to people of color, it's always the victim that's on trial and not the people accused of the crime." I want you both to reflect on that and how significant this case is for the health of this country and our community in particular. Titus, you first.
I agree with her completely. I mean, just pick any case involving a black person, an unarmed black person being shot and killed by the law enforcement or some overzealous citizen. It's always an issue of, well, what did that person do? You think about Trayvon Martin, where there was an issue about there was trace amount of marijuana in his system. That had absolutely nothing to do with George Zimmerman stalking him and killing him. But again, the victim is always put on trial first, and their credibility is always attacked by the defense because the defense wants to raise the issue that, oh, well, maybe this was an angry black man or angry black woman. So this defendant had no choice. They feared for their life, which is always the catchphrase. They feared for their life. So that's why they shot an unarmed person. In this situation, it's no different. However, the law in Georgia is very particular about when you can introduce negative evidence against the victim. Particularly, the defense is going to have to show that they knew that Mr. Arbery had some type of mental issue and that mental issue had anything to do with them jumping in the back of a truck and chasing him down like Boss Hogg from Dukes of Hazzard. That's a very high burden that they're going to have to overcome evidentiary, and I don't know what they're going to use that will be able to convince the judge that they should be allowed to introduce any reference to Mr. Arbery's mental condition.
Dr. Joseph, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think as a person of color, I think we often, because of the transgenerational effects of racism in this country, we are often cast in this role of having done something wrong, even when that role doesn't fit us. If you think about how some of us, in normal circumstances, I'll give an example, something we learned about and seen in a certain way. So we go out of our way not to project that kind of persona. That's unfortunate that we have to do that. Why can we not just walk through life as we are, doing what we're doing, nothing wrong, without worrying about someone thinking that we're doing something wrong when we're not? Mr. Arbery, what was he doing wrong? The fact that he has any mental health any background in receiving mental health services, who hasn't? Again, that's probably good for that person, depending on the circumstances. But why should we even be looking at that? Why do we have to pretend that we're not normal? That's not sane. That's not good, and that's not healthy.
All right, Dr. Tracy Joseph, Titus Nichols, thank you both so very much for your time tonight. Remember to tune in every weeknight for special trial coverage. We'll have a full breakdown of court each weeknight here on Making the Case and BNC. We'll be right back.